Okay, good day. Welcome back. I'm very thankful that I again recorded another video for you. So today my topic is all about building information systems. In this lecture, you will learn or give an idea on how information technology or computer science or a technical person in general will be able to develop or create an information system or a system that will support the organization. Somehow this will give you an idea on the process of developing the information systems within the organization. The assumption here is, as the first assumption of development, is that the system that will be developed is customized based on the organization's needs of a set of users that needs an information system support in the organization. So the learning objectives for the entire series of this recording would include identify and describe the core activities in systems development process. That means I will present the different steps on how the systems has been developed, and to give you an idea ahead, I think there are a lot of terms used for each of the core activities, but somehow we will agree that we will use the term presented in this course. Second is evaluate alternative methods for building information systems. Aside from the customized method that I will be presenting first, you will also learn other methods of how the system will be developed, which is usually the current practices of today. Then maybe we can compare alternative methodologies for modeling systems. And lastly, identify and describe new approaches for systems building in digital firm era. So somehow our focus of the series of this lecture would be on information systems development within the organization. And the source for this one is chapter 3 of the Management Information Systems book by Loudon and Loudon. So first, to give you the major activities, this would the list are the major activities in systems development. But we first identify that systems development includes activities that go into producing an information system solution to an organizational problem or opportunity. So that means if you want to automate the activity within the organization or the processes within the organization, you have to take this a series of core activities that needs to be done to be able to convert your existing process into a computerized one or automated one. So we have here 6 processes presented in this book. First is systems analysis. Second is systems design. Third is programming. Fourth is testing, conversion, and production and maintenance. So thus this will be discussed. Each of these core activities will be discussed in the next section. Let me start with an overview of the systems development process. So when you look at this building a systems development process, there are 6 core activities, and it starts with systems analysis. But sometimes organization will present that there is a feasibility study for or planning before the systems analysis. But on the perspective of the software development process, the software development process actually starts with the systems analysis or identification of the features or functionalities that needs to be developed within the organization. The feasibility study or the planning stage is also conducted before systems analysis. So to give you an idea, before the systems development process will be presented will commence, the organization and the building team will also agree and somehow take a feasibility study or some champions in the organization that will support the systems development. For example, systems analysis would investigate the different process of the organization, so there must be a counterpart within the organization that will support the need of the developers or software developers or programmer. So followed by systems design, and if you look at the arrow, after producing production and maintenance, it will go back to systems analysis. It is possible that the information systems development will go into cycle. That's why sometimes it is called the software development life cycle or SDLC. So in the analysis part, we will start what are the specific activities being done at the systems analysis. So analysis of the problem. So here we are defining the problem, identifying the causes. So somehow other organizations do root cause analysis to determine what's really is the problem. Example, specifying solutions, meaning writing systems proposal report describing cost and benefits of each alternative solution, and identifying information requirements to be met, who needs what information, where, when, and how. It also includes feasibility study. Is solution a good investment, or is required technology skill available? So what I'm saying before is that planning stage sometimes would be conducted, but in this process of systems development, it can also be included in systems analysis. But as I've specified before, sometimes the focus of the systems analysis is the analysis of the problem, and other book also introduced the feasibility study as part of the planning stage of the systems development life cycle. So I would like to focus more on identifying information requirements, meaning what actually is being captured by a certain person or position, and what output is expected of his task. So that means we will try to create a system that will help the person working on the task, or just automate the process that is being done by a certain organization. So after identifying, so in the systems analysis, we are expected that there are a list of data requirements or functionalities or processes that needs to be met by the system. So this the system. If you imagine the systems analysis, we can imagine it as a list of requirements or data requirements, or a list of possible input and output. Or from the perspective of the developer, we can see possible functionalities that will be supported by the system. So after that, after identifying the possible functions or process, procedures, or interface functionalities or data requirements, we move on to systems design. So systems design describes system specification that will deliver functions identified during systems analysis, and should address all managerial, organizational, and technological components of system solution. So sa systems design, after identifying specific data, specific functionalities, and features of the system, here comes the time that the developer now will design the technical requirements, or even the processes within the organization, what would be the design of the system, at the same time maybe the role of individual. So we have a role of end user information requirements drive system building. So users must have sufficient control over design process to ensure that system reflects their business priorities and information needs. And lastly, insufficient user involvement and design effort is a major cause of system failure. So during design, that's why there is already a technique here that a systems development life cycle would closely involve the end user, meaning while the developer or the programmer is actually designing the system, the end user can already see or observe the development of the system, because that would be critical for the user that the information system is being built can be usable or user friendly, or can be understandable on the perspective of the actual user. So close involvement of users during the design is very important in consideration for the future users. They are the future user of the system. And in fact, it is said here that insufficient user involvement would cause system failure, meaning system to be developed but not totally implemented in the organization. So design specification, we can look at an example of a design specification. We have output, input, user interfaces, meaning simplicity, efficiency, logic, feedback, errors. So we'll go back to output, for instance, medium, how the output will be displayed, and content, and the timing, when will be the output will display. Input is origin, so will be the source of the input, flow from what and where, and data entry, where to input. And database design, so you have an idea about this one because we have discussed this initially. Logical data model, that means these are already drawings. So that means the entity relationship diagram earlier can be presented as database design at this point. Volume and speed requirements, that means how much data would be involved in this software development. And file organization and design, so how the files would be organized. And record specification, meaning the different tables specification in your databases. So sa processing, the computations involved the program modules, meaning how many modules would be needed and how to divide the modules. Required reports, timing of outputs. Manual procedures, what activities, who performs them, when, how, and where. So that means that this is the user perspective. We will look at the existing activities and what's the role of each individual using the system. We have also input controls, processing controls, output controls, and procedural controls. So input controls such as character, limit, reasonableness. That means example, if it's a birthday or if it's age, so you must require the user to follow a certain format. For instance, if it's an age, you won't accept letters, for instance, or if this is an age, for instance, also you cannot input a number greater than 200. Processing controls, consistency, as an example, record count. So there might be limit for certain input or processing, so that delays in the processing of the certain groups of data would not be sacrificed. And of course, consistency of the processing. Lastly, output controls, meaning total samples of output, so it must be evaluated by the user also. And procedural controls, password, and special form. So these are some requirements in control. Security, of course, access controls, catastrophe plans, or parang what we can do if there is a disaster. Then audit trails, meaning audit trails are series of logs in the system. That means who access the system, what they access, and what actions they are doing. Also documentation, operations documentation, systems documents, and user documentation. This involves how the system has been created and what are the documents involved and proof of the development actually. And user documentation, that means the system guide must be evaluated or has been also started at this time, and how it will be presented to the user, meaning it has been discussed but not yet really the final documentation. A conversion, transfer files, initiate new procedures, select testing method, and cut over to new system. So conversion, this is all about how will you integrate the developed system to the new one, such as concerns on how you transfer files, example, list of employees from old to new systems. Then how will you test if that conversion works or not. Then cut over to new system, what will be the transition period, until when will the old system be transferred to the new system. We have also some terms used this for to describe the conversion process of the organization from old to new. And also training involved. And lastly, organizational changes. What are the task redesign? That means if a new system will be introduced to the organization, there might be changes on the roles or responsibilities of the individual, especially that we require process re-engineering. And the role of individual, it might eliminate some of the tasks of the individual because we were able to automate that particular system. So in the design specification of the system, it's already part of the plan, but somehow others are to be executed for the next